We're taking you to the green room of the fly fishing industry. With the crew from North 40 Fly Shop, we're answering your questions alongside the world's best fly fishing companies. This is North 40 Fly Shop Live. All right, this is episode 2 of North 40 Fly Shop Live. This is your guys' opportunity to ask us questions. We have today Paul, who is our fly fishing buyer for North 40 Outfitters, North 40 Fly Shop, and Dan Short of Nautilus Reels, as well as some other brands we're going to talk about in just a second. But during this live cast, if you guys have questions about fly reels, fly fishing, or any of the other topics that we bring up or other brands we bring up, we really encourage you guys to ask those questions right now live on the show. Like I said, this is episode 2 of North 40 Fly Shop Live. This is a YouTube show, so you can watch this show on YouTube if you missed this live cast. Ask us questions in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them. It's also going to be a podcast, so you'll be able to get on the iTunes store, wherever you download your podcasts, and download this episode and ask us questions in the comments there as well. So, Dan, welcome to episord 2.
Well, thank you very much, Sam Wiki.
Dobson was on episode 1, who you know.
He crushed it.
Yeah, he crushed it. So we were just talking about that. So you just have to, like Paul said, you just have to do a little bit better than him.
No pressure. Sounds great.
So
hi to all you guys out there in live land.
Yeah. So the first thing that just goes, I think this show's kind of tailored, like these people can see behind the scenes where they don't normally get to meet you. They normally meet the people in our fly shop. They don't normally get to meet Paul. They meet the people in our fly shop. So.
Totally.
Just a little bit about you, your background in the fly fishing industry, and just, I guess, how you got here.
How I got here?
Yeah.
So I grew up in northern Idaho, and grew up in a family where if you didn't cast a fly rod by about the age of 6, they pretty much didn't love you anymore. So I started fishing at a young age in North Idaho with my grandfather, actually both my grandfathers and my dad, and they pretty much just had me chasing trout most of my life. So I would say I spent the majority of my time fishing North Idaho and western Montana until like my mid-20s.
Did you learn how to regular fish first, or just straight went to fly fishing?
No, I did learn how to regular fish first. My dad was a big fan of like throwing a little clear bobber with like a renegade or a dry fly and just bubble bobber drop or a rig, so I could kind of get going on it. And then as soon as I was proficient at casting enough in the yard to where he could get me on the river and not be untangling my knots and getting my flies out of trees all day, they gave me a fly rod.
Nice.
So, so now, question from Luke. He wants to know, what's a good reel to buy if you're on a budget?
Great reel to buy if you're on a budget.
You're asking the Nautilus
rep. We're asking the Nautilus rep. I'd have to say that the Nautilus X is a great reel to buy if you're looking for a reel on a budget. It's made in the United States. It's got a sealed drag. We guarantee all of our stuff, and it won't ever fail you, ever.
Okay, so like, just say that Luke's talking about in the sub $150 class.
Yes.
You're a fly fisherman. You're around the Northwest. Is there a brand that you'd recommend to Luke that is in Nautilus?
It's not a.
Well, say they're not in the $150 class.
Yeah. You know? The Lamson makes a great reel at that price point, and there's a couple other ones out there, but I know that that's one that's been really well received.
Yeah, Lamson's a good choice.
By a bunch of guys, and a bunch of guys that I fish with. So people who care about their gear.
But the good thing about getting into a Nautilus right off the bat is this is like an heirloom product.
It is.
You're going to have it for a lifetime.
You're going to have it for a lifetime. You're going to fish it your whole life. It might go to your kids. It's nice to know that, you know, you're pulling something out that it's not going to fail you in any way when you're on the river. And if you do get into the fish that we're all chasing, which I don't know what your magic number is, but I know what my magic number is right now. And when I do hook that fish, I don't want to have to question my gear at all, and I want to know that's going to work great. So,
nice. Good answer.
There you go. Yeah. That's the truth about that.
Yeah, nice. So, what other brands do you represent out? We're going to talk a little bit about Nautilus today, but what other brands, in case people out there have questions about some of the other brands you're representing, what other brands do you represent?
Do I represent? Yeah. So I work with Nautilus Fly Reels, of course. I work with High and Dry Floatants, which is a new floating company that's been on the market for 3 years. Developed by a bunch of chemists. So I love to say that fishermen are the smartest guys in the world, but we're not necessarily all the time. So this was designed by guys who actually know chemistry. I work with Strippin' Flyware, which is a clothing company. We make basically t-shirts that are funny and fun, just because we believe that fly fishing is fun and it's not exclusive. I work with Rock Treads Traction. Rock Treads is a new company that just started 2 years ago. They make aluminum discs for the bottom of your wading boots. They have a system that will keep your aluminum discs on your wading boots even if you're wading in really adverse conditions. They also spin if they hit rocks, and they don't have a tendency to like catch on a sharp corner and send you into the drink. And the aluminum actually contorts, maybe is a good word. It's a soft metal, so it changes to the contour of the rocks that you're wading on. Is very well suited for great traction. I work with Douglas Fly Rods, which is a rod company out of New York. And I work with New Zealand Strike Indicator, who makes a really, really great indicator for really delicate, sensitive situations.
Do we have those?
Mm-hmm. You do?
We do, okay.
Yes.
I know the guys have been asking for them for a long time. So.
No, they're on all shops. I went and talked to all the guys at the shops about them recently. And then I work with Arc Fishing, which is a fly line leader and tippet company that makes great polyurethane fly lines with 6% low stretch cores and zinc technology. So those are the companies. Oh, I work with Black's Flies, which is a wholesale fly distributor. So you guys, yeah. Oh, right here. You guys, if you buy some flies out North 40, there's a good chance you're fishing some of our flies. So
nice. So you're definitely doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm hustling.
Yeah, we were just talking downstairs about going around the show and like some of the new products that launched at IFTD show this year in Orlando. And out of all the products that you're representing, what would you say you're most excited about this season or for the upcoming season?
This for the products that I'm representing. So I'd have to say it's tough. Kind of 3 products. Nautilus came out with the Nautilus Classic for 2018. So it's the same drag as it's on your X reel. But what we did is we added a full back cage to it. So we're doing a limited run of 500 of these in 2 different sizes and 2 different colors. So just something new and sexy, especially if you're a Nautilus aficionado.
Has like the original.
Has the original full back, so it's more similar to the FWX back. It's a little bit different, but no change to the X reel here. The drag is still the same. The spools interchange both ways, and super sweet reel to fish.
Yeah,
you know.
Alfonso, you had a question?
Yeah, we got a Facebook question. This might see if we can answer this one. From Keith. What should be my go-to bait for streams in western North Carolina?
Whoa!
Throw it out there.
Worms, baby, worms.
Keith, if you're watching this still, if you could be a little bit more specific, are you using a fly rod, are you using a gear rod, and what type of fish are you fishing for? Maybe we can give it a little bit better recommendation, I would say. But
absolutely,
worms just work everywhere.
They do. Like, I'll never forget walking into Bud Lily's like 4 years ago, and I ran into one of the older guys, been there forever, and he just said, "Hey, one of my favorite things to tell people when they ask what's working is worms, because the truth is it's always working."
I got a question for you from Dawson Weaves.
All right. Hey, Dawson.
I think this is what he's getting at. You guys should send me out a couple things. I would love to talk business with you. I think what he's implying is, do you guys have a sponsorship program?
Who?
Nautilus.
We do have a pro program. You got to be fishing kind of all over the world for multiple different species to get on that program. So,
Anywhere that he could inquire. Website?
North 40.
North 40.
North 40. There we go. Yeah.
You can send an email to support@north40.com.
There we go.
We'll get you in touch.
Yep. Right, Alfonso?
That's right.
All right.
Sweet.
Okay, so as far as Nautilus goes, can you just give us a little rundown about the Nautilus company? You just started repping for them fairly recently.
I did.
Give us a little rundown about who they are. I mean, it's one of the coolest fly reel companies that we carry in our stores. I mean, we carry a couple other premium brands, Hatch, Loop, and some other ones, Ross. But Nautilus has been one of our favorites for a long time. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about the company and what they're known for?
Yeah, so Kristen is owner of Nautilus, Kristen Mustad. His family actually started Mustad Hooks, so they've been in the fishing industry for forever. I mean, I don't know when Mustad started, but I know like I have hooks that my grandpa had that were mustad hooks still in his fly tying kit. So Christian was with them. They started Nautilus, like about 11 or 12 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah, because like before that it was called the Old Florida Reel Company.
Yeah, and then they bought it, redesigned reels. One thing that's really cool about Nautilus is those guys, they love trout fishing, right? But they are based out of Florida. So all the reels that they design, they don't design anything that would be inferior to fishing the salt. So even the technology that you get in your in your trout reels is great for fishing salt.
You could put a lightweight bonefish reel on that, or line on that, and take it down to the salt.
Absolutely. I was just in the Bahamas 4 months ago. I caught 7 of my 8 bonefish on a Nautilus X.
Yeah.
So it's great.
I've done that too. Like
reel.
when going on San Pedro, there's tons of small bonefish and stuff, and I've just switched out my streamer reel with a 6-weight bonefish line, and it's been totally fine.
It's totally bomber.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess one of the other things that we're just known for is innovation. You know, we're always constantly trying to come out with the best drag system we possibly can, and they've been very, very successful at that. They got a team of engineers working there at Nautilus. That's Kristen and Jesus. And those guys not only design the stuff, but then they fish the stuff. So by the time that it's come to market, those guys have spent a lot of time honing in that design so that when you get your new Nautilus reel from North 40 and you go out to the river, you're not going to have any problems.
We got a Facebook question. Jamie's asking, she's new to fly fishing. I'm sorry, Jamie, she or he, new to fly fishing, wanting to learn tying flies. What's best one to start with? What's the best fly to start with?
Oh, that's a pretty good question.
Woolly booger is a pretty good one.
Yeah, we have actually. What do you think, Paul? You're barely talking. So.
San Juan worm, since we're talking about worms.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, San Juan, well,
I mean, it's an easy one to tie. And
yeah.
it's
Well, and you
effective.
can honestly learn all the knots by tying a San Juan worm. It's super easy to tie, and you can use it literally almost everywhere that trout exist in
Absolutely.
the United States. But we also have, and we'll link this up in the YouTube notes, Jake, as well as the podcast notes. We have a fly tying video on north40flyshop.com called Rick's Bugger, and it's a woolly bugger, made slightly easier. There's just a couple wraps of hackle around the front. It's a perfect beginning fly to learn how to tie as well to fish, because with a woolly bugger you can kind of let it move. You don't have to dead drift it. So we'll link that up, but that would be another good option.
Well, and two, I know all the guys that work in your shops, they all tie, so I'm sure if you had any like specific questions, you could go into North 40 and ask, Fred or Dylan or some of the other guys, and they would love to.
Yeah, that person was Jamie. If you go to north40flyshop.com, check out that Rick's Bugger, but also we have a huge library of fly tying recipes.
that for
Yeah,
Yeah.
link that up.
No, nice.
Cool. What were we talking about? Finishing up Nautilus?
Fishing,
Okay,
worms.
cool.
Worms. I like red ones.
So Paul, out of these products, you guys were just downstairs like looking at the new products, assorting them for next year. What are you most excited about out of like what Dan came to present for the shops for next year?
Well, I think we're definitely going to carry the this liquid floatant from High and Dry. There you go.
Boom.
I think a lot of fly fishermen are pretty environmentally conscious, and the fact that none of this has any chemicals that are bad for the environment, it's super cool. It doesn't smell or feel like gasoline when you open it, so it's yeah.
Well, and like your chubby legs and stuff, they're not
Yeah.
gonna like shrivel, right?
Disintegrate down. It's not going to cause issues on your PVC fly lines. It's
Right.
It's
Yeah.
As
it-
compared to we're carrying Flyagra, which is the gasoline style one. Yeah.
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 So
Cool.
Yeah.
So you travel around. You're repping Montana, Idaho, and Washington.
I do Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
So have you been fishing lately?
I was fishing last night. Went carp fishing last night at 7:00, and
Can you
Tough to
see him
see.
at 7?
surprisingly, yes.
Where was that?
I landed
down here?
3. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it when we're off the air because someone else showed me the spot, so I can't rat out their spot to the world.
Oh man.
It's crazy when we're starting to protect carp spots.
It is crazy. It is crazy. But
talk about it.
But that little black woolly booger that he was talking about,
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
working great.
Cool.
So
Very good. So one of the things that we do to always wrap up the show is like you've been fly fishing almost your whole life
Pretty
since you were
much.
6, anyways. Do you have a piece of guidance or something that you've learned from your fly fishing experiences along the way that you think could help people out, or that you've learned through fly fishing? It's a big question.
Well, I think to try to answer that question and not be too philosophical, I think what it's taught me is that you need to be able to change in any situation that you show up at, to adapt to the conditions that you're in, because if I fish every river the way I fish the Missouri, for instance, I'm not going to be successful on some of those other rivers. But when I come to fish here, it pays to listen to the people who are fishing those waters and listen to the reasons that they do the things the way that they do to catch fish. Because, like, I fish the Mo maybe 15 days a year. If I'm going to go fish in the Mo with Sam, I know Sam's grown up around here, so I'm going to be like a sponge and just absorb as much information from Sam while I'm on the water with Sam, so that I can take that information and put it into my arsenal.
Yeah, the way that I fish the Missouri is not the way that you fish around Missoula and Coeur d'Alene.
Exactly. And
it can be some days, though.
Some days.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. It's just, at least for me, I get to meet a lot of people in the industry, and a lot of people are like, well, this is the only way you can fish, and this is the only way you can fish, and this is the only way you can fish. Well, I think that they have a lot of truth to what they're saying, but like, as long as you don't give up and you have a good attitude and you continue to be hard-headed and try to catch those fish, I think that you're going to have a great time. I think that's really fishing for me. And then try to fish with good people, because
because you have to spend 8 hours in the boat.
You got to spend 8 hours in the boat with them
more.
that day,
Yeah.
and it's way more fun to learn from the people you're fishing with than to babysit them all day.
Yeah.
We have a parting question. I recently bought an Echo Carbon XL 4-weight and was wondering if there are any size streamers I could cast with it. If I can do you have any recommendations on streamers?
Do you want to take
An
that?
Echo Carbon 4-weight. That's a lightweight rod, but we do carry quite a few streamers that could do that. I mean, if you're down in size 8 to 12, there's quite a few different types of streamers that are in the size 8 to 12, small B heads, still water patterns and stuff, and even some small like JJ Specials and Conehead style woolly buggers that you can get. And honestly, what's getting really popular, and you do this a lot, is swinging flies. And a lot of the swinging flies are lighter weight, so a 4-weight sometimes is actually a perfect tool for swinging some really small streamer patterns through some of the smaller rivers. So I would check those out. We have a bunch of them on our site. I don't have any specific patterns really in mind.
Muddler.
Yeah, muddler. That's a muddler minnow or muddler minnow variations would be a really good start for a 4-weight. I would think they're super lightweight. You're looking for streamer patterns that are size 8 to 12 that don't have a lot of weight in them, and that will be okay on your 4-weight.
And as you cast that rod more, you'll probably get to know the rod better, and I would say you probably be able to fish a little bit bigger bugs than we were just talking about as your casting progresses,
and by that time, you're going to have like 5 or 6
You'll have like 5 or 6 more
so
rods.
it won't be a problem.
And the only reason you'll be doing it is because you're like, oh, I got my 4-weight and I got to feed that fish right now, and I have a big bug and he's going to eat it. But
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. If there's no other questions, I think that's what we have for the show. I just want to thank you, Dan, for coming on the show. I know we literally told Dan, like, he had no clue at all
10 seconds.
about, 10 seconds before we started this, that we were walking up here to do this, so we appreciate it. I'd like to thank Kristen from Nautilus. He's been a huge supporter of our fly shops for a long time. Thank you guys all for watching the show. Again, if you guys have questions after the show, please put them in the comments section, regardless of what medium you're on. This is going to be a podcast, YouTube. You can follow us on YouTube at North 40 Fly Shop. And then please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, because we'll be doing these shows periodically live. We don't have an exact time set for these because, like we said, we plan this 5 to 10 minutes before we do them, and it's kind of dependent on when representatives and companies are in-house working with the buying team. But that's it. We really appreciate you guys watching. That was episode 2 of North 40 Fish Live.
thank
That's
you.
it.